Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. Anda bersama saya Nina Rozman melaporkan secara langsung dari ASEAN AI Summit 2025 yang diadakan di MyTech, dan kita lihat kesidang kemuncak ini diadakan di MyTech menghimpunkan para pemimpin dan wakil industri untuk mengukuhkan lagi dialog antara kerajaan dan juga sektor perniagaan. Dan kalau kita lihat acara ini memberi tumpuan kepada cabaran dan peluang yang dibawakan oleh kecerdasan buatan AI, dan bagaimana untuk kita beri tumpuan untuk kita memastikan kepentingan teknologi ini dapat memajukan kesejahteraan manusia, termasuk juga dengan mengangkat manfaat itu, merasai manfaat itu bersama. Namun kalau kita lihat sepanjang acara ini diadakan selama 2 hari daripada 12 hingga 13 Ogos 2025, kita dapat lihat ucapan tamu juga disampaikan oleh para pemimpin ASEAN dan ucapan rasmi disampaikan oleh Yang Amat Berbahagia Perdana Menteri Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, termasuk juga dengan YB Kementerian Digital iaitu Gobi Singdio, yang telah menyampaikan ucapan rasmi mereka dan juga menekankan bagaimanakah serantau ini dapat memainkan peranan utama dalam memacu inovasi, terutamanya dalam bidang AI ini. Dan dalam acara utama ini kita lihat berlangsung daripada selama 2 hari, dan ia telah sidang kemuncak ini telah direka khusus untuk memberi tumpuan untuk memperkukuhkan lagi dan mempercepatkan lagi kerjasama serantau dan memacu lagi inovasi dalam bidang AI ini. Sudah tentu banyak lagi inisiatif dan acara yang menarik yang menanti pada hari ini, dan dalam segmen Niaga AWANI kita akan membincangkan bagaimanakah cabaran yang perlu diatasi terutamanya dalam bidang AI ini, apa lagi peluang yang boleh kita ambil untuk memacu masa depan keseluruhan ASEAN dan keseluruhan ekosistem AI ini. Dengan itu saya mempersilakan tetamu sudah bersedia bersama saya untuk membincangkan perkara ini adalah Arifah Sharifuddin, Director ataupun kita lihat Director at Tech for Good. I want to say thank you very much, Arifah, for joining me. Definitely this is a collaboration we can see in the ASEAN context. And talking about the ASEAN context, how do you see the growth of AI innovation right now happening in Malaysia, ASEAN, and across the world?
Okay. First of all, thank you for having me this morning. We're so happy to be here. Okay, when we want to talk about the growth of AI in this region, I think what's important for us to note is the growth has to be purposeful, right? So it needs to be a purpose-driven innovation in AI. From the perspective of the institute, because we are a non-profit think tank, we are our areas of focus are tech policy and digital economy, and then bringing the perspective of Southeast Asia region in this the whole development of technology for the good of the people. So 3 areas for purpose-driven innovation for AI. So number 1 is definitely how do you do inclusive AI development, right? Making sure that the underserved community are also involved in the development of AI, not just as a consumer, but how AI can also enable people to become more productive and become a producer of AI in this region. So that's one context. Another one is on how AI development needs to be done in a safe manner. I think this is something that we are aware of how AI bias is happening from global, in the global sector, right? And a lot of the large language models, which are coming from the global providers, they are all in potentially just English language. In ASEAN or in Southeast Asia, we are so diverse and so unique. There are like 1,000 languages in this region alone, right? So there are many opportunities there. How do we localize that context? How do we develop something that is done more safely and ensuring that local contexts are taken into consideration when people are consuming all these AI tools and technology? And then, of course, when I mentioned about local contextualization, it is also something that Southeast Asia is so ripe for. We are a young region for now, right? As a region, we have a lot of youth, and we should actually start reaping the dividends of having youth, large number of youth in this region, to actually come up with AI solutions which are more relevant to this region. Yeah.
And definitely, I like your point that you mentioned that how can we localize AI and innovation, as we know that ASEAN is very diversified, and not only how can we localize the innovation, but how can we do it in a safely manner. But talking about AI, definitely we want to know the purpose of it, not only to innovate, but also help us overcome any obstacles or challenges. But how do AI, do you foresee, can overcome complex challenges, especially in the social and even environmental challenges?
Okay. I think this is a good question to ask now, right? In this region alone, we see many societal challenges. We are experiencing climate-related challenges, which are actually changing the weather. We are experiencing rain in the middle of the year as opposed to towards the end of the year. So those are all very relevant and real experiences that we're experiencing now. The key here is actually, it's not just about the system, it's about how we collaborate or how we create. So systems don't really collaborate, right? It's actually people who collaborate. So I think that's the most important thing that we should never forget. With, for example, complex problems, right? The solutioning, the ideation comes from people. Maybe I want to give one example in Indonesia, for example, right? There are severe shortage of doctors in Indonesia. It's well documented. Like, for 1,000 people, Indonesian people, there's only 0.72 doctor. Not even one doctor per 1,000 people. So it's actually, that's the large challenge and gap that is facing the healthcare systems in Indonesia. So how the Indonesia is tackling this, they have a corporate foundation that has come together with venture capitalists to actually encourage local innovations to come up with solutions to address these key societal challenges, because when the challenge is so big, the likelihood for the new products that are coming out, the new technology products in healthcare coming out,
they don't have the
very
capacity
high
to carry it.
Yeah, they don't have the capacity to carry it. But when you produce new solution, and the solution is to address a large problem, the likelihood for that product to survive is high, because you have a large customer base, you have a large addressable market that you can actually ensure that the technology is living. Yeah. So that's one example.
One example. And you also mentioned about the participation youth in AI innovations. That's very important because they are our future.
Yes.
They will bring forward and they will create how will our future will be in the future.
Correct.
But how do we get them excited? Because sometimes AI, we upgrade, they become upgraded, they become complex,
Correct.
they become hard to understand. So maybe they say, this is too high-tech for me. But how can we convince, especially the youth, that AI, even though that we say, oh, scams, it's also being pushed by AI.
Yeah.
But to help them understand the awareness, the importance to balance both the risk and the opportunity in the AI. How can we help them understand more?
You know, talking about youth, it is actually very timely that this year the Institute are actually engaging with youth to find out from them what matters to the youth of today and how they want to tackle the current problems and how it will actually help in ensuring that things will not get worse in the future, right? So basically that's just the gist of it, right? When we engage with the youth of Malaysia, with youth of Indonesia, youth of Philippines, everybody's saying the same thing. The most common findings that we found is that when you talk about technological advancement, it is really about bridging the gap of what the industry is needing versus what the universities are producing. So that was one main common discussion. And the industry is basically the engine that's running every country, right? They are the revenue generators, they are the job providers. So the challenge is actually from the respective ASEAN member states, for example, how do you produce enough talent to meet all this new demand in technology and digital economy? And the demand is not just technical skills like programmers and things like that. It's not just that. It's also your competencies, your soft skills, all the accompanying skills that is not really technical. Creativity, for example, creative thinking. So how do you do that? And how do you make sure that when the students graduate, when the youth graduate from the university, they are ready for the industry and the industry wants them? Yeah, so that was our current finding, and we're going to continue having this conversation with other youth in, for example, in Vietnam. We're going there as well. Singapore is happening towards the end of this month. Then there's another one in Indonesia, I think. Yeah, that one is also coming up.
That is a very good point that you just share with us. As we only need not to look at the maybe the study, the education's part, but that's another part. But also the soft skills, their credibility, their awareness, their efficiency. It definitely is very important. It's not just by subjects. We look at the subjects and can be created, can be instilled within these young people. So we need to ensure all aspect is being instilled with the youth, young people, and we want to make things, this innovation growth inclusive, as you mentioned in your points. How can we ensure that AI development is truly inclusive? As you mentioned before, it's not the system that collaborates, but the people.
It's the people. Okay, maybe let's take the perspective of innovation enabling inclusivity versus inclusivity enabling innovation, right? I think these two, they need to work together, right? When you involve diverse people in the process of innovation, you will come up with a better product. So that's inclusion for innovation. When you innovate to ensure that you address the larger societal challenges, that's where innovation is for inclusion. There are actually many examples already, in the market right now. One of it is actually the easiest example, right? Would be things like, we use e-hailing, right? We use e-hailing. One of the bigger e-hailing platform in this region, they have actually worked with the drivers to actually improve the map that's available on the e-hailing app itself. So that is one way where you actually enable inclusion for innovation addressing local contexts.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's one example.
The provider, connect with the provider also.
Correct.
It's like the drivers, what's your input, what's there to improve, and what's the challenges you're facing. And then the tech provider, the AI provider can also upgrade.
Correct.
Not only from the provider, but also from the consumer as well. So we take all of it into the consideration, and we make the platform better for them. And looking ahead, which AI potential excites you the most in solving societal and even sustainability issue in ASEAN?
Which AI?
Which AI potential that excites you in the future?
The potential that excites me the most is actually, aside from hyper-personalization, which is already like proliferating right now, hyper-personalization meaning when you use an app, the app already knows intuitive. It's intuitive. It already knows what you want, what you need. And the easiest example would be the e-commerce platform, your social media. They are already using AI, even including when you want to book your trips, right? So all those platforms are already enabling AI for hyper-personalization. Another one that I'm actually most excited about is on large language models and contextualizing for local use. I think you are aware that yesterday there was a launch of Malaysia's local language model, right?
Model, correct.
So done by a couple of companies here, and then one is like focusing on Sharia, focusing on the Quranic verses, and then there are also an initiative by Singapore whereby they are also developing local large language model. So these are all initiatives localized, which are meant to ensure that local contexts are taken into consideration when people communicate and when people consume the product. Yeah.
That is very definitely an essential aspect that we need to take a look at. If you could give any one big message to ASEAN policymakers for the AI common good, what would it be?
The big message is definitely about for policymakers to ensure that AI development is safe. However, it does not deter innovation, So I think that from our observation in some other countries, is whether you put a strong law on AI or you come up with soft laws to actually enable the innovation to continue. Yeah, so basically that's it.
Alright, I want to say thank you very much to Arifah Sharifuddin, the Director of Tech Goods. Definitely this is a very important sharing. As my understanding, you have a session at 10 a.m. I shall release you and I'll see you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ina.
Okey, baik, itu adalah sedikit perkongsian mengenai untuk kita memahami bagaimanakah apakah antara cabaran dan peluang dalam bidang kecerdasan buatan AI dan bagaimana untuk kita memastikan teknologi AI dan inovasi ini dapat memajukan kesejahteraan manusia, termasuk memastikan manfaat ini dapat dinikmati bersama. Dan teruskan bersama kami untuk dapatkan perkembangan sidang kemuncak AI ASEAN Malaysia 2025 dari semasa ke semasa, dan kami ada rakan tugas iaitu Hasim Muhammad yang akan berada on ground di sini untuk bawa ke anda perkembangan langsung. Dan jangan ke mana-mana, selepas ini rakan tugas akan ambil alih iaitu Haris Ashraf di studio selepas kita berhenti rehat.